No, that's all right. I won't tell you if you got somewhere to go. I expect Brenda's sitting at home by her window looking for you now. I'll tell you about the goings on I see from my window some other time. But you know, some people are something else. You never guessed who I saw yesterday coming out of Jeffrey's shop next door. Frankie Dolan. That's right, Frankie Dolan. Imagine that. That man has not been out of his house in 30 years, except to get up in the morning, get into his boat, and go fishing all day. Gets his groceries up Sam's Marina, cooks for himself, and cleans for himself. Yeah, it's all right. Don't pay any attention to me. I'm just talking. You go along home. You tell Brenda how I was just saying Frankie Dolan was in the shop. You know, he had his hands all full of kite paper, sticks and everything. Now, what that man could be doing building a kite, I don't know. Of course, when we were boys together, he used to make some of the prettiest kites and points. But I'm going back years now. It's long before your time. Frankie was a different man in those days. Yeah, that's right. You just go ahead, straighten up that chair there. I'm too stiff in the back with all my pains and everything to do much housekeeping these days. Rosie's in once a week, and in the meantime, everything just kind of looks after itself. Anyway, only me here now. Now, Mary. My Mary could keep a house. It's strange we should be talking to Frankie Dolan, you know, because his wife, Dottie, she's gone now, poor sight. She used to pal around with my Mary. Yeah. Those two women were never out of each other's sight. I mean, if it wasn't Mary taking some fruit, some snickerdoodles fresh out of the oven, taking around to Dolly, it was Dolly up the back stairs with some ginger squares or some days a fresh lobster out of one of Frankie's pots. Oh yeah, Frankie and Dolly. You know, somehow things never sort of went right for those two. They never had what you'd call good luck, really. I mean, Dolly had sugar diabetes, you know. She used to give herself a shot in the arm every morning. She used to grow some tea out of poor man's roses that she grew around the back door. They said it was good for sugar diabetes. Yeah, I can see you gotta go. It's all right. But, I'll just get some fresh thyme out of the garden for Brenda. And you can tell Brenda, I'm looking forward to one of her hot cross buns again this year. Yeah. Your Brenda can really make a hot cross bun. You know, I was about to say that Frankie didn't really help Dolly out with her condition at all. You know, you used to drink, don't you? Yeah. He used to keep a little bottle of black rum in his shed. Whenever you heard him calling out to Dolly that he was just going down in the shed to do some work, you knew he was going for a snort. Kept a bigger bottle in his boat, too. Sometimes he'd go out in that boat, go fishing, he'd not come back for a couple of days. And poor Mary, she'd be standing up there on the cliff with her eyes all screwed up, looking out to sea. But let me tell you something. That woman had the best eyesight in the world. Yeah, she could see Frankie's boat. I swear, sometimes before it was even past North Rock. I mean, there'd be days I'd be up there looking and looking, and Mary would be already running down to the cove to be there when his boat came in. And you know something? She never ever said a word to him about all the worry he caused her. You'd see him afterwards, coming up the road together, all quiet. Mary would be helping, Dolly would be helping Frankie with his tackle and things. You could kind of tell that not a word had been passed between them. I guess she was just happy to have him home safe. Which is not to say that she always just took her licks, lying down without saying anything. I remember one day when Frankie was hot, he was out in the yard calling out for Skipper. Skipper was a little spider monkey he used to keep in a big cage around the side of the house. Every time Frankie was tight, he'd go around there and let the monkey out and play with him, and the monkey always just took off. I couldn't figure out why he'd do that when that monkey would just run away all the time, but that's the way he is, you know. Bullheaded. Anyway, this morning, Frankie's out there in the yard, rolling around, calling for Skipper, curses flying. Out comes Dolly. Steam was coming out of that woman's ears. She laid into him, fist flying, knocked him right into the road. She said to him that if he came into the house, she'd go at him with a butcher's knife. Well, everyone in the neighborhood could hear, you know. But no one went down there to see what was going on. My brother Don, and you know him, but he went between them once. Frankie broke his nose for him. I'm telling you. But you know, by and large, Dolly was the sweetest, quietest, kindest woman you'd ever care to meet. Yeah, she used to feed all the children around here, you know. Oh yeah, back door always open, always something cooking. All they had to do was go in there and cry out, you know, it's only me, Mrs. Dolan, and she'd have something fresh for them in no time. But you know, the kids were kind of scared of her too. Her ways were a little rough, I suppose. She taught half of them to swim just by tying a rope around their waist and throwing them out to sea. Somehow they always felt kind of safe with her. Yeah, the sad thing is, they never had any children of their own. Yeah, it's all right, girl. I can see you got to go, right? I tell you what, then. I'll put my walking shoes on, and I'll come with you a ways up the road and finish up saying what I was about, you know, finish up saying what I was saying about Frankie and Dolly. I don't know why I said they didn't have any children, because they had two, a boy and a girl. They were born at the same time. Twins, I suppose. Anyway, they're both dead now. Yeah. Dolly came in one morning, and she found the little girl lying there, dead in the crib. She's only a couple of days old. It's very sad. See, in those days, the doctor didn't come out to the house or anything like that unless he was sent for. And let me tell you, Dr. Darrell did not like being sent for unless it was a real emergency. I thought it was very, very hard for Dolly. I mean, the priest wouldn't even let the child be buried in a regular grave. Had to go up to some corner for unbaptized infants, or what you call it. I mean, there's Frankie, all of Frankie's people, I mean, in one grave. And all of Dolly's people in the next grave over. But that little girl, she's up in some corner somewhere. They don't even let you put slabs on the graves like you would for your own, because it's church property. I was up there the other week. I was putting some flowers on my Mary's grave. I just went up there to have a look. You know, I still think of those children. Well, I got up there and I found a vase of flowers, plastic flowers, sitting there, all faded from the sun. I didn't know which little child they were there for. That's the problem with the March morning, you know. Anyway, I took one of my flowers out, put it in the vase, said a prayer for that child. They had a boy, too, called Alfie. Something else, that boy. You had to keep your eye on him all the time. Otherwise, he'd be into your coop, he'd take all the eggs, go up a tree, sit there and throw the eggs down on his mates as they came past. He just wanted to have, like, a laugh and a look on their faces when these eggs dropped on their heads from out of the air. And he loved birds, too, you know. Just like his daddy. Couldn't keep him out of them. No sooner would that child be home from school, if he went at all, and he'd be down at the cove messing around with his boat. Oh yeah. You know, and if it wasn't for Sister Mary Teresa cycling all the way out there to talk to Dolly about Alfie missing so much school, that child would not have got any education at all. Well, as soon as he was 16, though, he was gone. But at least Dolly saw him through as far as that. Well, you know what I'm saying about that child and boat. From the war, The first thing the child wants to do is join the Navy. He was barely 17, but nothing his parents could say would change his mind. Now, Admiralty House is just up the road, as you know. Well, he went up there and he got his signing up papers. But being 17, he had to get his daddy to sign for him. But that was all right for Alfie, because he knew his daddy. He just waited one day, Frankie was tight, and he gave him the things to sign. Frankie never forgave himself for that. Now, next thing you know, Alfie's one of the king sailors aboard the HMS Sunderland. It broke his mother's heart. He sailed away one day, and he never came back. The Germans sank this boat off Norway, I believe, somewhere like that. Anyway, from that day on, Frankie and Dolly just shut themselves up in that house of theirs, and you never saw them, except if Dolly was going out to pick something up at Jeffrey's or whatever. And she didn't like Mary coming around anymore, so we gradually lost touch. And I went without speaking to Frankie Dill for about 3 years, till Mary died. Dolly died. Dolly just got up one day and she told Frankie she wanted to go to the hospital because she thought her time had come. She wasn't feeling sick or anything. She just wanted to go to the hospital because she thought her time had come. So he took her down there and she lay down and died. Well, they had to have a funeral. Everyone was there. I spoke to Frankie and I said to him, you know, if you want anything. But he just looked at me as if to say, what can you do for me? My wife just died. My children are in their graves. What can you do for me? But I haven't seen Frankie since, except if I happen to be up early in the morning with my back pains, and I look out the window and I see him on his way down to the boat. Hey now. Looks like Brenda's come out to the road looking for you. You better tell her that I kept you. But no, that's all right. I'd like to come in, but I just got to go home and get my dinner from the freezer before she dries right up on me. Hey, Brenda, how are you? Yeah, I was just talking to your husband here. I always told your mother what a fine boy you married, but he's a hungry boy now, so you better get him inside and get some dinner into him. It's all right. Don't worry about me. I'll just wander back down the road and get my fish cakes from last week. Oh, yeah, well, I keep them in the deep freeze. Uncle Harvey got me through his company, and I've never had a day's trouble with him. Oh, well, of course, I never say no to some home cooking, especially if it's made by a pretty girl like you. I'll just come here for a minute then, okay? Now, I was just saying to your husband how I saw Frankie Dill come out of the shop yesterday. He had his hands all full of kite sticks, kite paper, glue, string, you name it. Everything to do with kites. Seemed very strange to me. Mind you, that's not the only strange thing going on around here these days. Well, you know Mrs. Wilson. Yeah, well, she's got her 16-year-old grandson down from Canada to stay with her for 6 months. I mean, what's an old lady like that gonna do looking after a 16-year-old boy? And he's a strange kind of child, too, let me tell you. He just spends the whole day sitting down by the curb looking at the water. I mean, I saw him myself the other day. I was down there seeing a Robbie Chisholm have any lobsters, which reminds me, you better get yours now before those fools in town go fanning them too. Anyway, like I was saying, I was down there, the child was just sitting on the dock, staring into the water like he lost something. I mean, what's she gonna do with a child like that? I don't know why he doesn't have some mates like any other boy his age. I mean, when I was his age, me and my mates would go out in boats larking around the island all day. Yeah. Well, you know to put the rabbits on Rabbit Island, don't you? Yeah, you should have seen the look on old man Tucker's face when he realized that some of his red Chesapeakes had gone missing. Oh, we boys nearly died laughing. But no, that child just sits there staring at the water. Often say boo to a mouse. Seems very hard to me. I almost had half a mind to tell him to go and get a job. I know that people, Donald Taylor's crying out for people in his boatyard. See, my sister Irene says that he's down here staying with his grandma to get away from his folks. It seems that Mrs. Wilson's little girl gone and married a man who's walking out on her now. So that's dealt with. Staying here with his grandma. It seems very strange to me. I'm sorry. Here I am talking away. There's delicious dinner's getting cold. Don't pay no mind to me, you folks. Just go ahead and eat. I suppose you got quite a lot to do before Good Friday tomorrow. Have you children got your pipes ready? I know your daddy's pretty hot when it comes to stringing a pipe. Pretty hot. I say he's almost as good as Frankie Dolan was in his day. Oh yeah, Frankie Dolan. That man could really string a pipe. Anyway, where are you going to pitch your pipes? Oh, down the park. Oh, well, you know, you might see me there. Especially if your mother's making one of her famous picnic baskets. I said I'd be here, and here I am. Did you look at those lovely kites you children have made? My word, I've never seen such pretty colors. I hope you bought enough tail, because she's a pretty stiff breeze today. Still, that's better than the calm. You know, if it was calm, we'd all be standing around here looking at each other like fools. You know, one year, I remember, it was so calm, we spent the entire day down at the club playing blackjack. And on Good Friday, too. Mary was hopping mad. Huh? No, I haven't got a kite. I'm too old to be making kites these days. I suppose I could go down to town and get one of those plastic bird kites, but it wouldn't be the same. Anyway, we didn't have those when I was your age, and I don't know if I'd know how to fly one now. But still, would you look at that? I wonder. That's Frankie Dolan. He's over there showing Mrs. Wilson's boy how to fly a kite. Frankie Dolan. I mean, there's a man who hasn't spoken to a soul in 30 years. And he's over there jumping around like a teeny bopper with that boy and all. I can't believe my eyes. I'll tell you what. I'm just going to go talk to Mrs. Wilson in the car over there. See what's happening. My word. She certainly is looking her age. Brenda! Brenda! You know what Mrs. Wilson just told me? Well, it seemed that the other day, Frankie was down in the cove looking after his boat. Something wrong with the diesel with the other. Anyway, all of a sudden, the flywheel turns over, catches his shirt. Well, it's pulling his face down right round the water around the motor block. It's only an inch deep, right? But an inch could kill you. Anyway, there's Frankie with his face all down by the water. He's screaming for help. And who do you suppose came aboard to help him out? Mrs. Wilson's boy. Yeah. Now, if you asked me, I would have said that that boy did not have it in him to swim. But no, Mrs. Wilson says he just cut through the water like a mackerel and jumped on board. And from that day to this, Frankie and that boy have been like two mussels in a pond. Yeah, Frankie's been taking them out and showing them all about fishing, about the reefs and the channels and the buoys and how to look after nets and look after the boat and everything. Yeah, Frankie, he's like a new man. Well, I mean, look at him for yourself. Fussing with that boy like that. Something else. Frankie! Hey, Frankie! Yeah, you going into the kite business? I just telling Brenda and her husband here how I saw you buying up Jeffrey's shop the other day. I see you got your first customer. What's his name? Hey. Well, Alfred, you listen to Frank. There's a man who knows about kites, it's Frankie. Oh yeah, we used to call him the king of kites. Even had an article on him in the paper, he was that famous. Yeah, well, with the paper the way it is now, the only thing worth reading is Ann Landis. Okay now. Brenda, it's a strange world we live in. And that's a strange name for a boy to have. Alfred's a real old-time name. People don't call their children Alfred anymore. You know, come to think of it, Frankie's toy was named Alfred. Well, we call him Alfie, but that's short for Alfred, you see. It's funny that those two should have the same name. Still, I'm too old to be messing my head up thinking about that sort of business. Now, Brenda, you got any more of those famous hot cross buns of yours? I always told your mother what a fine cook you were.
Together we are one woman, the wife of Charles Goodrich.
Now there I disagree with you, Hetty. I alone am his wife.
Harriet, how can you say such a thing?
Certainly. I am the one who flatters him. I have to be the one who talks to him. If I gave you a chance, you'd tell him at once you dislike him.
I don't love him, that's certain.
You leave all the fibbing to me. He doesn't suspect that my calm, suave manner hides your hatred. Considering the amount of scheming he causes me, it can safely be said he is my husband.
Oh, if you love him.
I haven't any feelings. It isn't my business to love anybody.
Then why need you object to calling you my husband?
I resent your appropriation of a man who is only managed through the cleverness of my heart.
You may be clever enough to deceive him, Harriet, but I am still the one who suffers. I can't forget he is my husband. I can't forget that I might have married John Caldwell.
How foolish of you to mention John, just because we met his wife by chance.
That's what I want to talk to you about. She may be here at any moment. I want to advise you about what to say to herself.
By all means, talk to me now, and don't interrupt when she is here. You have a most annoying habit of talking to me when people are present. Sometimes it is as much as I can do to keep my poise and appear not to be listening to you.
Impress her.
Hetty, dear, is it not my custom to impress people?
I hate her.
I can't let her see that.
I hate her because she married John.
Only after you refused him.
Was it my fault that I refused him?
That's right, blame me.
It was your fault. You said he was too poor and never would be able to do anything in painting. Look at him now. Known in Europe, just returned from 8 years in Paris. Famous.
It was too poor a gamble at the time. It was much safer to accept Charles's money and position.
And then John married Margaret within the year.
Out of spite.
Freckled, gawky-looking thing she was, too.
Europe improved her. She was stunning the other morning.
Make her just.
Shall I be haughty? Or cordial? Or caustic?
Above all else, you must let her know that we are rich.
Oh, yes, I do that quite easily now.
You must put it on again.
Never fear.
Tell her I love my husband.
My husband?
Are you going to quarrel with me?
No, I have no desire to quarrel with you. It's quite too uncomfortable. I couldn't get away from you if I tried.
You were a stupid fool to make me refuse, John. I'll never forgive you, never.
Don't get me all excited, or